you see from Xander out there?
He was good. I mean, reliable guy. I mean, got behind in the count to a guy that obviously hit a home run. I mean, it was weird. The wind was blowing in dead from center field, and they took as good a swings as some of our guys did, at least in the first 7 innings of the game. But some of them hit the ball the right spot, and some of our guys, hit it just as hard, but to dead center, like Seth Stevenson and Jordan Beck. Jarrell did once too, but he did fine. We're trying to, kind of like them, the game never really had a rhythm, and it was pretty slow if you're here as a fan. But both teams are trying to use a lot of pitchers and also keep their pitchers fresh at the same time. So we yanked him a little earlier than probably we needed to, and the way he was throwing the ball was fine, but that was what we did.
The last few years, doesn't seem like y'all have had one set midweek guy. Do you kind of like having stability?
No question. I mean, in my opinion, the best pitching staff, I wasn't there, but recruiting-wise, you kind of want 4 starters. I mean, you get into a regional situation and you got to come out of the loser's bracket, or you get down to the SEC tournament like we did last year. You need a guy that is at least capable of doing it. But the other thing is it just relieves stress on everybody on a Tuesday when you know what you're getting. I mean, when the game started, normally these games, you want to win the first inning, and that could or could not happen. But it's nice to know exactly what you're getting, and that's what we had when Sean Hunley was a freshman. Was you kind of knew what you're getting, and Xander is a similar deal there.
You told John Wilkerson on the radio yesterday that Blake Clerk is probably your most talented bat on the roster. You feel vindicated?
Yeah, he made me look smart. Now, he didn't finish that great, but what you saw, the 2 differences between the finish and the beginning is when he kind of takes his time and doesn't skip any, if it was a frame-by-frame picture, he gets in a hurry like a lot of freshmen and kind of skips some of those frames. But, yeah, when he takes his time to use that swing, to me it looks like Will Clark. Someone else has said that. I've also heard other comparisons, but the bottom line is he's very gifted at the plate. He's gifted at first base too, but he might have the highest ceiling out of everybody at the plate.
This freshman class as a whole, I mean, you've brought in talent over your time here, but just where does this freshman class kind of stack up, and what is their potential as a group?
Yeah, well, I think this is one where Coach Elander was able to get an equal start to everybody else. I know we've been here for a while, but recruiting happens so far in advance that you're a little late to the party like we were. Now, last year's class, kids like Brady House, we were pretty similar deal, able to get in early enough for those guys, but we got hit in the draft pretty good. So we've been able to hold some guys in the draft like Blade Tidwell, Drew Gilbert, Simo, obviously. I could list some others, Burke, Bernsey, but that's who's in Omaha is guys who said no to the draft. And then other guys who turn themselves into players or guys that are deserving of a pro opportunity like an Evan Russell. So a little combination of time settling in for us, but also now kids are seeing it's a great environment to play here. We're capable of competing in the SEC, so, it's not a bad option.
I know you want competition everywhere at every position all the time, but when you look at guys like, Burke and Moore and, Jared Dickey and those guys kind of pushing each other every day for those spots in the lineup, can that bring the best out of them?
It can if you allow it to. It's kind of like if it's raining, you can use it to your advantage and bounce the ball off the turf the right way, or whatever if it's hot out, you can make sure you're hydrated. I know those are goofy examples, but it can go either way that you'll let it. And I've coached guys, and we may even have a guy on this team, like the hotter the fire gets, it's kind of like I need it to be comfortable. But the best kids that I've coached and the best teams I've been on, they like the fire hot, if that's what you want to call it. And one of the best pitching staffs I've ever been around, with Max kind of in the middle of the thing, there's about a 4-year deal there where they liked each other, but they didn't like each other. They wanted to outdo one another. And I think you've seen that with staffs that Max has been on. That's a great example. I mean, he's always around other number ones like he is with the Mets. And I don't mean to speak for him, but he wants to be the number one.
What does Ben Joyce need to do to continue progressing?
Keep doing what he's doing. Now, I will say tonight, I mean, to answer our fan who's wondering why he's picking off there, with a lead ahead was, and we maybe caught Ben off guard, which I took responsibility for when I talked to him, is we're trying to slow him down. I mean, that guy's got a lot of adrenaline going on the mound. You can see it in his face, you can see it in everything, and obviously it works for him as it relates to the radar gun. But to maybe answer your question a little bit, he's going to need to learn to slow himself down and that not come from the dugout. So if you're looking for one little thing, It would be when situations come up when there's a runner on base or it's a little bit hairy, you're going to have to make sure that adrenaline works for you and you don't get going in too big of a hurry. And I don't know that he was going to do that. That was just kind of my little prediction, so we asked Frank to do that. But just little nuggets like that, if he can keep stacking them on. But if you had been around that kid last year and just in the fall and everything, it's just you want your players to be on an incline of improvement. But that guy, along with a couple other guys, it's almost like he's just going up an elevator. So it's been fun to watch.
You feel like you can extend him more? He's got enough reps.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't have the best plan always, but I sit up there and try and come up with a plan. A lot of those guys, we were just trying to get them 2 hitters without making the fans have to wait too long for a bunch of changes, and would have liked to have seen, Mark, Redmond, Cam, all those guys get out there and get action, but also be ready to rock and roll this weekend. And so he was the one guy we split that inning with. But I think he's to a point where he could throw 3 innings for us if we needed him to. And, for a guy who gasses it up like he does, you think he'd be gassed out, but next day, because he works so hard in that weight room, he's ready to go, so he can go back-to-back days too.
Wyatt starting to creep up the totem pole?
Yeah, I think he was there after the fall. He came back and was just a little sore. We're at NCAA puts us at a point where we're not even in season in the middle of January. So, to me, that's kind of a health thing with these pitchers' arms. I mean, you can ask them to come back early. We can get into that whole bunch, but the kids come back from Christmas break and it's like, bam, go get them, because we got to be ready. And so he was a little sore, a little tender, so we had to back off. So I think he's kind of right back to where he picked up and left off. He had to play a little catch up because we did have a chunk of time there where he was not throwing.
Coach, you mentioned Sunday. Tennessee sports are on the up and up. With the men's team and all. Did you happen to watch the Lady Vols last night?
Yeah, I did. They found a way to get it done. I mean, that's what you got to do in particular. And I feel so bad. I look back. I never won a high school baseball state championship. I'm going to blame it on single elimination. I mean, it just doesn't matter what sport it is. If it comes down to just one little deal, I mean, imagine being an Olympian, in 4 years worth of races, but it comes down to this one. I don't mean to make anybody nervous. But that single elimination deal, a lot of quirky stuff can happen. And fortunately, we're in a sport or at a level where you get a little bit of room for error. But, whether it's double elimination or single elimination, you just got to have some grit to you. And that group kind of has a little, someone else said it, I mean, it's pretty cool. There's a little Pat Summit in there, and for obvious reasons.
What happened in Jake Moore?
Oblique deal. And that's not scary because it's not incredibly severe, but it's a little unnerving because that, like a hammy, can linger a little bit. So if it is a more serious one, like I said, then it becomes an issue where it can linger. So hopefully it's kind of a, at the moment didn't feel good, but there's a quicker recovery in there.
Coach, what do you want to see from your team this weekend, your first actual real road test, and it's in the SEC at Ole Miss?
Yeah, I mean, I think going down to Houston brought a lot to our club, but as you said, it wasn't a deal where, I mean, some of those fans were razzing our guys a little bit, and they get fired up when their team scores. But, when you go on the road, the other team might get on your Facebook or whatever's popular now. I know MySpace is outdated, but, they'll collect some info or, they're going to get excited if their team does well. And, it's a challenge to not just handle that, but, if it's hot out, cold out, umpires, you don't agree with something. So there'll be some adversity there, but that's what these guys all signed up for in the SEC. And we've got 5 of those. I just hope Vol fans continue to come out like they did tonight and realize we're down to 4 SEC weekends. Those home ones are incredibly valuable. So hopefully we pack this house, and you can bet your bottom dollar we're going to play in front of packed houses when we go on the road. So the boys need to keep doing what they've been doing. Media has been the one that said it, whether it's Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, road, neutral site, whatever. Our guys have been pretty consistent. They haven't been perfect, but they've been kind of consistent how they approach things. So that would be my best answer on that deal.